Hello, everyone. Happy summer. It's the first day of summer, and I'm so excited about that. um, I hope that you all are, having a great Wednesday so far. Um, it's hard to believe that, it's already the end of, not end, but nearing the end of June. I feel like June has really, really, really flown by. Um, I am just, again, going to make sure that everything is working technology wise. So I'm going to see if it is working perfect on Facebook. Um, and actually, I'll keep that up in case someone comments anything. Um, and then YouTube. I hope that everyone is staying cool, but also enjoying the warmth as well. We'll really try to live it up right now as much as we can, especially in Minnesota. Yay! Everything's working. Perfect. Um, so today I am again excited for this topic, but this is a topic that I have been talking about for quite some time, especially with my clients. I've done group presentations on this, and it's something that is really necessary for our health and well-being, and kind of getting back to our roots in a way. So I'm going to be talking today about seasonal eating, and I'm doing this in celebration of the first day of summer. So I want you guys to get off on the right foot when it comes to summer foods. Utilize those fresh farmers markets, where you can get an abundance of these foods that are in season, and it's going to vary depending on your location too. So even within Minnesota, there are different zones for like growing different plants, and vegetables and herbs and all of that. So it's going to vary throughout the country, as well with what is in season at that time. But today I'm going to be talking more on what are the benefits of seasonal eating, what it is, what does it look like in summer, what are the common seasonal foods and that kind of stuff. So if you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to drop a question down below. If you are someone who really stays in tune with seasonal eating, I would love to hear what are some of your favorite ways of making sure that you are eating with the seasons. Like, what are your favorite ways of utilizing different foods or summer foods now? What are some of your favorites that you have, and do you use the whole plant? I would just love to know. So make sure you drop a comment below or any question that you have as we go through this. So what is seasonal eating? It is just as it sounds. It is eating according to the foods that nature, not agriculture and supermarkets, provide for us all year round. So this is what we did from the very beginning of time, right? Food was about fuel. Fuel was about hunting, foraging, and gathering and eating what nature provided us. So what wasn't there at the time or growing or, out and about to be hunted, we did not consume at that time. So it wasn't about having a craving at 3 p.m. We went from the survival hunting and gathering and taking what was given to us from the land, and nature, and it wasn't about I'm craving some chocolate. It wasn't having the abundance of food that we have now. So the hunter gatherer lifestyle picture was that summer included a lot of fresh fruits, colorful vegetables, an abundance of whole grains, meat, fats, and fresh fish on most days. But the focus was mainly on plants at this time because it was abundant. So a lot of focus was more on the plants than the meat and all of that. So autumn land was, becoming a little less generous and fresh carb supply was starting to dwindle. So you ate whatever was available. There was a little less plant life. And so that led for us to use extra energy and hunting for some of that meat and tasty game meat, nuts and seeds, berries, that did pop up. Those were the things that were mainly consumed at that time. And then during winter, your main source of carb was coming from nuts and seeds and berries that, were in season at that time. So you would hunt meat whenever you got the chance, but most animals were hibernating. So there wasn't much food around. Humans themselves would hibernate at this time, and we would sleep around 15 hours a day, and our metabolic rate would decrease, and we wouldn't need quite as much food. So that was our body's internal way of making sure we survived. Our metabolic rate went down, we slept more, we weren't moving around as much. And so we would conserve our energy as best as we could. In the spring, we were starting to become more active. We came out of that hibernation mode. Plants started growing again. Days were getting longer again. We were sleeping less, foraging more. So our food intake naturally started to increase and transition from predominantly protein and fat and back to more of a higher carb, and then getting more into those plants. In the modern world, it's almost always summer. With our supermarkets, we can get anything that we want. We can get food shipped to us. It's We're never running out of food, and our bodies have evolved over hundreds of years, but our physiology has not changed much in that time. So we're still trying to keep up with how quickly evolution has occurred, and technology and the abundance of food. Our bodies are still trying to adapt from those hunter gatherer lifestyles that we once had. And it takes time for that to happen. Yes, our bodies are resilient, um, but they don't change that drastically. Um, Eating seasonally is more commonplace among other global cultures. It involves eating as much of the in season foods as you can, when you can, and in many ways as you can. So then you move on to the next season, and those foods that are in season and do the same thing. It allows us to eat in harmony with the cycles of nature. So we're able to connect deeper to the earth and foster respect, admiration, gratitude for the food that we eat. It also allows us to get in touch with ourselves and our natural rhythms, nourishing our bodies, minds, energy, spirit, community. We're living in whole with nature. We are not just siloed from nature. We have an impact on one another. And it's better to be in tune with it, than trying to fight with it. Eating seasonally should not be rigid, though, right? So, again, things have evolved like enormously. Moderation is the key word. And here in Minnesota, where I am, we need to be flexible, right? We have very big limitations, especially in later fall, early spring, winter time. Eating foods that are in season somewhere else can still help bring balance to your current state of health. Obviously, there are still great benefits and nutrients that are coming from these foods, including those dark leafy greens and blueberries all year round, along with some other nutritional powerhouses of produce, is definitely worth it by eating out of season. Nutrient dense food sometimes goes beyond seasonality and can fill in any gaps that we're missing. And goodness knows that we have nutritional gaps. So there are many benefits and joys to eating seasonally. So fruits and vegetables that are picked and eaten in season are at their peak nutrition and freshness, right? They're going to taste their best, and they're going to have their most nutrients in there at that time. So that full nutrient and vitamin content is typically retained then, versus out of season, you lose a lot of those nutrients. And yes, you can get frozen foods that have been picked at their peak and still retain a lot of nutrients. It's still going to be less than, when you're eating it fresh and all that, but it's still a lot more than if you were eating out of season, getting your foods from another state, having them shipped in. By the time they get to the store and it's time to eat, um they've lost a lot of their nutrients. It's also better for your health overall. So, foods grown and consumed during their appropriate seasons are more nutritionally dense, like I just mentioned. There was a study that monitored the vitamin C content of broccoli and found that broccoli grown during peak season, which is actually in fall, had a higher vitamin C content than broccoli grown during the spring. Researchers have found that artificially ripened produce is often not as nutritious or tasty and flavorful as naturally ripened produce either. So again, the artificially ripened, there's also going to be chemicals and agents that are going into ripening those fruits and vegetables, and then that's going to go in your body too. And usually they're toxic. So dairy products are also fall into this category too. So in 2018, there was a UK study that analyzed cow milk from local creameries in Northern Ireland, and they assessed the iodine and selenium content. And the selenium content was not affected by season. However, the milk produced in the spring had a higher concentration of iodine than it did in the autumn. And iodine is critical to thyroid health. So a lot of us are lacking that iodine. Um, All right. So I'm just looking to see if this is actually working right now. Let me see. Let me see. Um, all right. Well, it appears that things are working, but I guess I will find out. Um, okay. I'm going to go with it. Where was I? Okay. So foods, I was at the study, I think. Obviously, I lost all track of where I was, but I apologize. But okay, so after a long winter, the human body craves detoxification and longs to shed the extra winter weight. So, spring vegetables like spinach, asparagus, radishes, cilantro help to alkalize our bloodstream and energize us for the warmer months when we typically expend more energy, are being more active, and we're outdoors more. So when the weather is warm and dry, we tend to crave cool and juicy foods. I don't know about you, but on those hot summer days, I tend to want like cucumbers or watermelon or any type of melon, really. Um, Leafy greens are also cooling. Same with tomatoes. Melons and cucumbers are light cooling. They're also very easy on the digestive system, too, which is what we want during those warm months because unfortunately our digestive system can get a little wonky and off when it gets hotter. So seasonal choices are meant to help balance us out, giving us what we need on a deeper level. And throughout the year, external changes in weather, as well as internal shifts in emotions and energy, influence our dietary needs and preferences too. So, seasonal eating and seasons bring cyclical changes into our metabolism, just like they do for animals as well. So, for example, we shift into a mild insulin resistant state to burn more fuel efficiently to burn fuel more efficiently in the wintertime. So, that means our blood sugars, when we have more of that insulin resistant state, we hold on to weight more. Our insulin levels are typically higher. Blood sugars can tend to be a little higher too. But we eat less when our resources are scarce. It is an ingrained survival mechanism from the hunter gatherer days. And it's not just weight gain from the holidays, some of it is, but it also has to do with the hibernation mode that our body is just adapt to. So, it's easier for us to gain the holiday weight, but some of that is hibernation mode and just built in to our systems. So in the fall, our livers increase fat production to prepare us for winter time. It ramps up glucose production for use by the brain, and then insulin cycle switches back to an insulin sensitive state in later winter in preparation for summer's abundance. So, it gets ready to be able to respond to our foods and those higher carb foods that we start to get more in the spring. Spring is cleansing and it's a healing season filled with detoxifying foods. Like I mentioned before, think of the dandelion greens, greens in general, and chicory root. The body often asks for different produce and grains to support you during the various seasons too. So sometimes our cravings do have legitimate reasoning behind them. A lot of times they do have legitimate reasoning behind them. But for example, craving brightly colored phytonutrient rich vegetables and fruits in the summer and different produce and grains to support you in the winter. So a lot of those heavier um, produce or heavier grains in the winter time is so that, our body is like, we have enough fuel to keep us going and to keep us warm. Whereas, we have those brighter and phytonutrient rich vegetables and fruits and plants in the summer, which are full of antioxidants and also really good for like protecting us from the sun. Those antioxidants do. Our digestive cycles are related to circadian rhythms as well. So our sleep wake cycle. And this also involves animal products too. So wild game and fish are still regarded as seasonal foods. So hunting and fishing seasons coincide within the months when the animals and fish have completed their reproductive cycles and are at their nutritional peak as well. The most Brightly colored fruits and vegetables have some of the most dietary benefits. So they have various vitamins and minerals, antioxidants, and fiber that can help people with managing their weight and fight disease too and fight illness, especially like those fall foods. Those are very rich in certain antioxidants, higher in vitamin C, beta carotene, vitamin A, which all are really helpful for our immune system and keeping our immune system stable. So these different vitamins and minerals that change throughout the year of like abundance in foods is for our benefit. It goes down to a cellular level and, it helps to fight off whatever comes within that season. Also, you know, taste. Taste is going to be so much better again for these in season foods. So you have less transportation and travel from the garden to the table. It's riper, bursting with more flavor. There's more of a complex and richer flavor. Many fruits and vegetables during the wintertime are picked unripe in order to make it to the grocery store shelf. And so we start to get that flavorless taste, and it can get kind of mealy as well, and just not as great, not as vibrant, a little more bland in that flavor. Selective breeding favors uniform ripening and shelf life over flavor when it comes to commercial farming and mass produced produce. So volume is what matters to meet the demand at that point. So you're going to lose a lot of those flavors. I don't know if you have ever tried a conventional strawberry versus an organic in season strawberry. Yes, the strawberry that's usually in season and organic is much smaller, but it's brighter red in color and it has way more flavor. So, apparently, let me see. Trying to see if this is working at all. Okay. Well, I'm hoping that Facebook is working. Um, I apologize that. Huh. Okay. Well, I might have to share this back to my Facebook. Okay. I apologize that everything got all screwed up with the internet. It is what it is. So many fruits and vegetables during the wintertime are picked unripe in order to make it to the grocery or make it to the grocery shelf. Um, and you can freeze and preserve in-season foods. That's another thing. Is there are ways to preserve these in-season foods so that you can have them during the wintertime. And this will extend their deliciousness throughout the rest of the year. Frozen produce offers fully ripened vegetables and fruits any time of the year, and provides you with more nutrition than the underripe fresh produce that's shipped long distances. And it's going to be cheaper too to get the frozen versus the ones that have been shipped long distance. Eating in season in general is cheaper. And fermented foods are a good way to preserve ripe produce and also provide your gut with some, gut boosting probiotics year round too. Foods that are produced in season are better for the environment. And think about how far the pear or eggplant you bought at your local grocery store traveled before it was stocked on the shelves. Did it come from your local farmer? Did it go across the country or arrive by airplane? So really look and see the transparency of the foods that you are consuming. Think about fuel emissions along with other environmental impacts as well. This involves more than just our nutrition. And more than half the fruit and almost a third of the vegetables bought in the US are imported. A lot of our fruits and vegetables actually come from China. A lot of our pork products come from China too. And you can only imagine how long they have been sitting. They are not fresh. I know with apples, a lot of times they are sprayed a red color to look like an apple, and there's a lot of chemicals involved. So if you're eating fresh and local, you are also at least decreasing the amount of chemical exposure. to your body. So, when you learn about the actual farms where the produce, meats, and dairy are sourced, there's also a greater appreciation. It helps you appreciate the seasons and their offerings. It helps you appreciate the time that goes into, picking whatever produce it is, or getting that animal to the table. It's There's a lot of work that goes into it, and there's just a lot more appreciation when you have that understanding of where your food is coming from. When foods are grown out of season, they aren't able to follow their natural growing and ripening rhythms, which is obviously important. And in order for certain fruits and vegetables to be available year round, post harvest treatments, aka ripening agents, are used. So these are chemicals, gases, heat processes. Some produce is coated with an edible film to protect it. And chemicals. These processes allow foods to be produced in mass quantities by slowing the maturation and ripening process. Also helps protect the produce from bacteria and other pathogens on the long journey from the fields to your local grocery store. So, by avoiding or limiting out of season produce and choosing locally grown and organic where possible, you can minimize the intake of these chemicals, which is very much good for your overall health. And think of long term effects that these high pesticide consumptions have on your body, and it has a huge impact. And when you already have an autoimmune condition, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, any chronic illness, it's only going to hit you harder and disrupt your systems even more. Eating local, seasonally available foods is a great way to help us adapt to our environment. Where you live is adaptive. For example, flaxseed isn't grown in the tropics, but coconuts are, and the nutrients in coconut can help protect against intense UV light. Obviously, when you're in the tropics, you have that blazing heat source, right? You have the blazing sun. Well, coconuts can help protect against that intense UV light. So, um, the different compounds within that coconut help protect your body. You can get higher quality products for cheaper, like I mentioned. So when a fruit or veggie is in season, it's abundant, therefore, usually it's available at a lower price. Summer, we're going to see that more with the berries. And that's why, strawberries and blueberries and blackberries, raspberries are typically cheaper during the summer months. And think about current inflation as well. Yeah. Um, Obviously, cost has risen. But if you're eating in season, a lot of times it it it's a lower pace of inflation. Grapefruit in July is going to be more expensive than it is in the winter, since grapefruit is in season during winter. Some summer specifics. So in summertime, there's plenty of fresh fruits, colorful vegetables, and abundance of whole grains. Body tends to crave these brightly colored, vital, nutrient-rich vegetables and fruits. Meat, fat, and fresh fish are also available at this time. But most of the focus is more on the plant-based fuel since it is so abundant at this time. And many fruits, for example, contain high levels of antioxidants and polyphenols that offer protection against UV light when it's at its greatest intensity, which is the summertime. Summertime is also when you have long, bright days of sun and heat, so it's considered drier, tends to dry things out. It's also a period of luxurious growth, and so it's important to stay cool, relaxing, and ground your energy during this time. By staying hydrated, obviously that's really important, especially during this drier time, during the higher heat. It's easier to get dehydrated. So our bodies consist of up to 75% water. This does kind of lessen as we age. And now is the time when minerals and oils are sweated out of the body too. Since we are sweating so much, right? That's one way of our body cooling itself down. But loss can cause weakness if it's not replaced by a varied diet. Mild dehydration saps energy, makes you feel tired and weak. Um, it's important that we are getting in enough hydration, and we can get that through foods. And a lot of the berries, the leafy greens, cucumbers, the melons, those are going to be really full of water. Tomatoes too, those are full of water as well, but then also getting in some clean water too. um, we want to foster stability during this time, include quiet and restful activities. And this is a big time of go, go, go. And I'm feeling that over here too. So it's important that we have the quiet time. Awaken early in the morning and reach the sun for nourishment. So if you can get outside right away when the sun is rising, it's going to help with your cortisol response. And then it will help with your pineal gland, um, which is in control of your cortisol and your melatonin. Um, you know, Regulation. So when you wake up and you wake up with the sunrise, make sure you get outside, maybe like 15, 20 minutes um, without any sunglasses on, so that your body wakes up and knows we need to have energy for the day. And then it has a better response later in the day when, the sun starts to set and we start to build that melatonin in the body so that we can sleep better. So that's one way of our body syncing with the rhythms of the earth. So this is a time where our body tends to naturally crave those lighter foods and those smaller meals too that are easier to digest. Whereas in the wintertime, we tend to have those heavier, larger meals. There's a strong source of internal heat that disperses in order to keep uh, our body cool. So the outside heat leads our bodies to trying to keep us cool. It then slows down the digestive system. We don't want to have um, too much in our digestive system because then our body is heating itself up on the insides and we already have plenty of heat on the outside. So summer heat combined with too much cold food can actually weaken the digestive system even more. So we want to, have smaller, more frequent meals. Healthy digestion supports immunity. And again, the majority of our immune system resides in our gut. So we want to keep our gut happy. Keeping digestion strong and healthy in the summer helps the gut and lymphatic channels stay clean and optimal. And that will help us then, when fall comes around, our immune system is robust. And if we take a hit, we can bounce back. We have more of that resiliency because we have kept our immune system strong by eating the right foods during the right times. Heavy foods on hot days can cause that sluggish feeling. So that would be like your meats, your eggs, excess of nuts, seeds, and grains, because remember, those are more of the late fall into winter time. Those are more of those types of foods. Um, Being fully present with meals. So savor that flavor and texture of your food. That can help with reducing the risk of overeating because when you're savoring your food, you're going to be more mindful. You're going to slow down and you're not going to be speed eating. Overeating is taxing on our digestive system, especially during the summertime. So now is the time to enjoy fresh fruits and salads and favor the sweet, bitter, and astringent taste and relish in cool, liquid, and even slightly oily foods. Add a little spicy, pungent, or even fiery flavor to it too. So the dispersing hot flavored spices are considered appropriate in the warmest weather. So the first increase in warmth, or they first increase the body in warmth and bring the body heat out to the surface to be dispersed. And with heat on the surface, one's body mirrors the summer's climate and is less affected by it. For this, the foods that would be included would be like your red and green hot peppers, cayenne red pepper, fresh, not dried ginger, horseradish, and black pepper. So you also don't want to overdo it on these dispersing foods, as that can make weakness in your digestive system too. So we need to have a nice balance. Um, and then it can make it more difficult to stay warm and vital in the cooler seasons too. So enjoy cooler or room temperature water infused with mint or lime and a little raw sugar. Too cold can help. Oh my gosh. Too cold can end up hurting our digestive system and slow it down. Ice drinks and ice cream actually make our stomach contract and stop digestion. So it's best to avoid these foods, especially during those hot months. And yes, those are the things that we do crave, unfortunately, right? But we really want to be mindful. Once in a while is good, but have more of like the cooling foods like the tomatoes, the greens, watermelon, those berries, not going for like the ice cold freezies or the popsicles or the ice cream, because that's really just going to hinder the digestive system. If you are feeling uncomfortable from the heat during this time, drink hot liquids and take warm showers to induce that sudden sweating so that your body cools itself down. And when conditions of heat become lodged in the interior of the body due to hot climate, poor diet, or other factors, things that can happen is that we can damage fluids in the body and energy. We can get, fever with profuse sweating. We can get that weakness and also thirst increases. We can start to feel shortness of breath, coughing and wheezing, dampness, which is a traditional Chinese medicine take or approach word. It means with dampness, there's stagnation and sluggishness. So you're easily tired and you have that heaviness in the body. So foods that can help this like sluggishness and dampness are often bitter or aromatic. So that would be like your lettuce, your celery, your turnip, kohlrabi, rye and amaranth, wild blue-green microalgae, adzuki beans, I mean, asparagus, white pepper, alfalfa, pumpkin, vinegar, papaya, bitter herbs. Chamomile is also great. Foods to avoid and limit that promote this dampness or mucus, dairy products, the meat, the eggs. Again, those are more of those winter foods. Tofu, other soy products, pineapple, salt, and concentrated sweetener. Dietary suggestions for this lodged heat would be like your lemon, apple, watermelon, cantaloupe, papaya, pineapple, muskmelon, mung bean. That's in soup. The summer squashes are great. So zucchini and cucumber too. For like any sun or heat stroke, use radish juice, bitter melon soup, or watermelon juice. Right now during the summer is the time to avoid those processed grains and opt for more of those whole grains. The bitter aspect of the grains is in the germ and the bran, so that's why we want to have those whole grains. And you also lose the magnesium, B vitamins, the amino acid L-tryptophan during the processing of grain. So we want to have the whole grain that's intact. When cooking, we want to cook lightly. Use high heat for a very short time when sauteing. Steam or simmer foods as quickly as possible. Use more water than we do salt. On the hottest days, we want to create a cool atmosphere. So maybe picnics and patio meals, and serve more of those cooling and fresh foods like salads and sprouts, fruit, cucumber, tofu, and flower and leaf teas. So like chamomile, chrysanthemum, mint, those are all great. Common cooling fruits in the summer also include apples, watermelon, lemons, and limes. Mung bean soup or tea is another specific remedy to help cool the body down too. Some tips are to keep hydrated, so drink water, skip the sugary sodas and the pops and sports drinks. That can lead to further dehydration. Try natural coconut water. You're going to get those electrolytes without that added sugar. Consume watermelon, grapes, peaches, nectarines, and plums. The water content can help, bring temperatures down in the body. They're also easier to digest. The body won't overheat when processing them. Consume cucumbers, tomatoes, celery, and leafy greens. They're full of cooling water. Try spicy gazpacho. It heats you up, making you sweat, which then cools you down. But again, you don't want to overdo that either. Go for light fish or vegetable sources of protein. Cool beans that you can toss into a salad. Cod, perch, pollock, walleye, tilapia, halibut, and grouper are also great during this time. Limit your dairy products as they're rich and heavy, making them harder to digest, especially in excess, which a lot of us tend to do. Go small in portions of consuming them. Sorbet is a great alternative to ice cream. And sorbet is made out of fruit, or opt for just some plain fruit, that's not frozen, because again, that can strict our stomach and make digestion really hard. Limit and avoid caffeine and alcohol as best as you can. Coffee, tea, and alcohol have those diuretic properties, so we lose the fluids. We can tend to feel warmer, and then it leads to dehydration, and then we can start to get that weakness in the body. And again, we don't want weakness in the body. That's not going to help us into the fall or the winter, and so on. And if indulging in these, do so in moderation and make sure you hydrate yourself with water. So I am going to leave you at that. And I will post on Friday in my Facebook group foods that we tend to see in season during the summertime. So I hope that this was helpful. I apologize that my internet decided to go down. It was a thing with the provider. And yeah, so I apologize. And hopefully next time will be better. But until next time, you guys have a great first day of summer and go out and enjoy those summer foods. You guys take care, and until next time.